It is 10 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The first round of the NBA draft was on Wednesday. Tennessee star Dalton Knecht fell to 17th overall, where he was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers. The Memphis Grizzlies had the number 9 pick and took Purdue center Zach Edey. The second round of the NBA draft begins this afternoon at 3 p.m. On Wednesday, the Titans announced an open practice at Nissan Stadium July 27th. Visit TennesseeTitans.com to find out how to claim your free ticket. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
A disaster. An abject disaster. I could not believe what I saw watching the NBA draft last night. Good morning. Welcome in. We're happy to have you. Slay is apparently doing 5 hours of radio today, so he's going to be back in studio here in just a little bit. The NBA draft goes down last night, and Dalton Knecht slides. Not just does Dalton Knecht slide all the way down to the Los Angeles Lakers, woo, at number 17 overall. Yes, congratulations to Jackson. He's very pleased with himself at this point. But at what cost? At what cost? Because I watched this NBA draft and I felt something bubble up deep inside me. Not indigestion, but something else.
You know, they sell over-the-counter products for that.
What I have can't be cured because what I fear is that it is a fatal symptom of battered Vols syndrome, BVS. And that is what I experienced when I watched the NBA draft get to number 7 and the Blazers take Donovan Clingan, the big man out of UConn. And I said, oh my God, is Dalton Knecht going to be there for the Grizzlies at number 9? Please. That sounds like so much fun. We can take that show road trip we were talking about. It'll be a great time. We'll go down to Memphis. We'll eat some barbecue. Maybe we'll leave Lucas there. We'll come back. It'll all be great. It'll all be great. And then what do they do but spit in my face, Lucas, and draft Zach Edey, my nemesis.
The opposite of Dalton Knecht. I mean,
oh my God.
They could not have gone a more different direction.
What roiled inside me at that moment was something that I have felt or actually never felt in my entire life, because I felt that I had become the thing that I hate the most, and that is Charlie Burris during that Titans game, taking a picture of the Nissan Stadium filled with orange and saying if the Titans didn't spit in the Vols' face, they could have this here at Nissan Stadium each and every Sunday. I felt it inside me. I hate myself for it. And I still feel justified because really, of all, I know they need a big man. I know he's probably going to be good. I know he's got great work ethic. I still hate his big dumb face. I don't want to see him in a Memphis Grizzlies uniform. I don't want to have to think about him. I want Zach Edey out of my life so badly.
So your hatred for Zach Edey is so much that you are saying the Grizzlies should have pandered to the Vols fan base and drafted Dalton Knecht.
Pander.
I, for one, am thrilled about this because myself, as well as Jackson, have always been an LA Lakers fan. If I really think about it.
This is a Lakers show now.
Yeah, and I'm just happy that Dalton Knecht landed at such a forward-thinking, ahead-of-its-time franchise who made that hire of J.J. Redick, which really was just smart. It was just a smart hire outside of the box. I've always said this. And I look forward to J.J. Redick getting to be the coach that develops Dalton Knecht on their way to a championship, with Knecht winning MVP and J.J. Redick winning Coach of the Year, which I think I predicted that on this show.
Did you?
When they hired J.J. Redick. Yes, I think I really praised that hire and said he will be a future NBA Coach of the Year. And I just think Dalton Knecht landed in the most functional spot he possibly could have always been an LA Lakers fan. If I really go back, the signs have been there, the breadcrumbs. Go Lakers. What do they say? Is there a saying?
Lake Show, baby.
They just say Lake Show?
They just say Lake Show.
That's the hashtag. It's like tighten up for them.
We can work on that. I feel like the LA Lakers, the most iconic brand in all of basketball, could do better than just saying Lake Show.
But that's how I feel about tighten up, but that's a battle for another day.
Go Lakers.
Go Lakers.
The two of you, shame on you.
Would you like to join us? It's a fun bandwagon right now.
I'm going to have to because the Grizzlies clearly hate me. Clearly they hate me. I don't understand. Do Tennessee fans not feel this? Or is it just like, it's Memphis, it's West Tennessee, we don't care about them?
Well, the dumbest thing about Tennessee fans saying, well, more Vols fans would cheer for the Grizzlies if they drafted Connect. The Grizzlies drafted Jarnell Stokes, okay? The Grizzlies drafted Kennedy Chandler. I don't think Tennessee fans were showing up in droves wearing their orange to FedEx Forum when Jarnell Stokes and Kennedy Chandler were named Memphis Grizzlies.
Kennedy Chandler,
sure.
He got a plan.
But enough with this. Well, if they only did this, then more Tennessee fans. Stop it. Can we stop with this? It's the most moronic take out there in the sports world, and for some reason it has continued to pop up over the course of the last calendar year.
No, I'm with them. I'm with them now. I'm one of them now. I'm with you. I'm on your side. They spat in your face. They should pander to you. I'm totally with that.
Don't forget Yves Pons.
Yves Pons,
that's right.
Also a Grizzlies draft
Grizzlies
pick.
legend.
So I just love they just the one Tennessee player they don't draft. Like, you could have had all the Vols fans.
I swear to God. It's just because it's Zach Edey. It's just because it's him. It haunts me. Haunts me like a bad dream. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can live stream the show today. Where on YouTube, UW says, do y'all hate Memphis like Will Bowling hates Memphis? No, I want to love Memphis. I want to embrace you. I want to try and bridge this gap, okay? Please. I've never been. I'm dying to go. I was looking forward to my Grizzlies road trip this year, and then you ripped it out from under me by drafting Zach Edey, who I'm still in shambles, even though he's probably going to be solid for them, and he's probably going to be better than Donovan Clingan, but that's, again, a conversation that we'll have with Slay.
The Lakers will travel to FedEx Forum. This road trip could still happen.
When?
I don't have the schedule in front of me. But.
Okay, well, you're now in charge of the road trip, so make sure the buses are booked and you can coordinate all of those things, and then we can go watch your Los Angeles Lakers.
Our Los Angeles
This
Lakers.
is not a Lakers show now.
Yes, it is.
You guys just sat there and point. How many of you made J.J. Redick the dumbest thing in sports this week? How many of you? Be honest. You frauds.
There's no proof of that.
Mine was Greg McElroy.
Well, Greg McElroy, tough scene. 615-737-1045 is the number. So, yes, Dalton Connect goes to Los Angeles. It is an intriguing basketball fit. The biggest storyline going on with the Lakers is not just J.J. Redick, but it is that LeBron has the option to be a free agent, plus the entire situation going on with his son, Bronny James. And I think that when you talk about the trajectory of that franchise, because, I mean, in all seriousness, we were pointing and laughing at the Lakers all last week for 2 weeks since this Dan Hurley thing, since they got pantsed by the best coach in college basketball for, I don't know. I don't feel like Dan Hurley was outright using the Lakers, but I do feel like Dan Hurley was taking a victory lap about what a big deal it is, and UConn having Dan Hurley take a victory lap about what a big deal it is to turn down the Los Angeles Lakers to try and win a third straight title at UConn. But the basketball fit I like. It's just, how is he going to continue to improve defensively? Are they going to be able to leave him on the floor that way? And how much does his age truly factor in? Because it sounds like that was the biggest reason for the slide. When you're a player like this who's gone through JUCO, we had the age conversation with Hendon Hooker, right? And we, I think collectively kind of shrugged our shoulders and said, is it really that big a deal? The NBA just told you it's maybe not the biggest deal, but it's a little bit of a deal.
I will never understand it. I don't understand the concept of being 23 years old means that's it. That's what you are, and you can't go up from there. That makes no sense to me. Like if he was 27, 28, if he was Brandon Whedon coming out of Oklahoma State playing quarterback.
Titans legend.
That's one thing. Oh, I forgot he had a cup of coffee here.
I saw him in two-tone blue for like a half a second on the practice squad.
Was he 40 by that point?
He was at least 65.
But it makes no sense to me. 23. Like, what were you doing at 23? Were you a finished product
What
in
was
your
I-
respective field
What was
when
I
you were
doing
23? It
23?
does like was Ron Slay?
I think I was face down in a bush outside of Crazy Town during the Preds playoff run at 23.
Was
That
Ron
sounds about
Slay
right.
at 23 just a finished product? Like Slay didn't improve at all as a post player after the age of 23? It just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Why are you talking about him like he's not in the room?
He only had 1 year. He is sitting 5 feet next to me.
This is so bizarre. We're doing a show like Slay is not sitting right in the middle of everything, just hanging out on his phone in here.
He had 1 year of high-level basketball in the SEC, of actually playing in March Madness. And we act like, well, he can't really improve from here. He's 23, so he is what he is. And that's why he fell. And that seems to be the consensus of why he fell.
Well, Lucas, I would tell you that for any number of reasons do NBA draft picks not pan out with the way that you expect them to. And you could say that about any draft for as random and as inexact a science as this stuff actually is. But I think that's a fine, by the way. You have to, the way that the show works is if we hear your phone.
I think that was Slay's phone.
No, I know. I'm aware. I'm aware. That's a fine. That's just
I'm not in here.
No. You better be careful or I send your ass to the shadows before this thing even starts. Anyway, the point being, the draft is an inexact science. I have no idea what Dalton Knecht is going to end up being as a professional basketball player. I am intrigued because it's the Lakers, because it's LeBron James, because of all the circus. But from an actual basketball standpoint, the move makes sense. And that's what we're going to talk with Ron Slay about coming up next, because he's the hardest working man in show business. He's already done the morning show. He's got 3HL after this. But coming up next, he's in the building. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's hot chicken. What are you laughing about? Your microphone's off.
That's because y'all
Aren't you a broadcast professional?
I'm not even in here. That's my
I think that's the first time in the history of him being on this radio station that he said, no, I'm not in the building.
I'm not in the building.
Get me away from all of this. I'm telling you, people come in here and they're like, how the hell does anybody allow you, the two of you, the three of you, to do this?
It is
uninterrupted for 3 hours a day, and yet we still survive.
Just keep showing up
like a fungus.
Just keep showing up. They got me in the door. Just saying.
Yeah,
it works.
It takes a village. Ron, no, I don't. No, I don't want anything to do with that. I have a bone to pick with you about
It's
that.
like a gremlin.
It's like something you don't feed after midnight, which is also the way that I feel about you based on your wedding. We haven't had you on the show.
Oh, we so haven't.
Since you got married.
Yeah, man.
We have too much to cover in these 20 minutes.
We've got time. What do you got to do today? Relax. It's 10:20.
Got somewhere to be.
You're here till 1. Take your coat off. Stay a while.
Relax.
Unbelievable. So let's start with the important stuff, and then we can get to the
important stuff, Buck, is you not being at the Arcade Dub last night.
Now, he does this sleigh. Everybody shows up to Bucks events, don't they?
They
Everybody
do.
showed up to the
in
install.
droves, too.
In droves. The bowling event, big hit. Everybody's there.
Yeah.
But when push comes to shove,
Yeah.
and it's time for him to giveth and not taketh.
Yeah.
There is no giveth.
And
with this guy.
it's not like him. That's the craziest part. Like, he is a giving guy, but when you need him most,
Wait.
he's not really there.
Well, that's true. But that you can count on. When you really, really need somebody, don't call me.
He doesn't want to be anywhere to be
Don't call me.
found.
If you need something, if I can assist you from afar, if I can, send you help that doesn't require me to be
But
there.
it was video games.
It's a great time. Game terminal.
And drinks.
Awesome spot.
Well,
and drinks.
Yeah, I know. I saw Bert drag his sorry ass in for prime time at 7 o'clock. That was a treat. Unbelievable.
Oh, I wouldn't have let him get like
He
that.
would. He was.
If I knew he had prime time. I apologize.
Yeah, I had to work last night. So, listen,
Okay.
not to make an excuse, because Bert did go. It was his
he
event,
did.
and
He was there for like 3 hours.
And because I was talking on the phone to Grace about it, I was like, yeah, they've got this event out in Wedgwood, Houston. I've got prime time tonight. I've got a little bit of time that I could slide out there. And she just immediately said to me, go support Bert for all the things that Bert does for you.
It's true.
And so I said, for all the things that Bert does for me, I will not be there. But
He lays in pools with water hoses, dog.
did you see that?
That was beautiful.
It's disgusting.
No, that was a beautiful sight.
I agree.
That was beautiful.
It was me. I had to document it and say it was like being on the Serengeti and seeing something in the wild. I had to take a picture.
That pool's still just deflated in my backyard. It's just been rained on, probably muddy as hell.
Yeah, well, it couldn't be dirtier than when he was rolling around in it. It was just hose water and grass clippings and
rolling in it.
Rolling. Fully
Disgusting.
clothed, too. Fully clothed.
But that's neither here nor there. Now, wait, quickly. This wasn't a charity thing, right?
I want to say it was.
Is
I
Bert
want to
the
say it
charity?
was too. I want to say a
Because
little
if
bit.
Bert's the charity, you can kick rocks.
I don't think it was only him as the charity. I think it was a combination of
Yeah.
Because the only way that you can make me feel bad about that is if there's a charitable component and they were raising money for good things.
You were like the only person out there. Like the whole sales team was there. Our bosses were there.
Nobody told me
The
that.
whole volunteer lineup was there.
It just said, hey, if you're not doing anything from 3 to 8, of which I am from 7 to 8, show up at this arcade in Wedgwood, Houston.
It was probably such a good time because you weren't there.
That's probably true.
Man, you might have just nailed it. You might have just nailed it.
You don't want to. What are you gonna play video? What am I gonna do at a video game arcade? What are you gonna do with me?
All kind of games.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you could have tapped back into your childhood.
You could not get Slay off the NBA Jam.
Buddy, childhood. I've been 75 my entire life. Okay? What childhood? Relax.
All right.
We'll talk about the wedding stuff later. Have you sufficiently shamed me? Because I felt bad enough last night for
Yes.
what the Memphis Grizzlies did to me. Talk to me about why Dalton Connect slid and how big the age thing actually is.
The age thing is a way to knock you. That's a part of it. I thought it left for a minute, but it seems to be coming back. I thought you get a grace period because of COVID, these athletes, but it seems that's not it either. The biggest part of it is European guys coming over and owners and GMs, scouts, afraid to miss the hidden gems. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many of these guys that were taken in the top 15 picks or top 16 before Dalton when you're talking about the European guys, and even after, are going to play right away or have an impact right away. The young man that was taken to the New York Knicks, we know he's not going to play. He's a wing or / point guard. Jalen Brunson's job is there. They just got OG Anunoby re-upped. So, and then the young man from Brooklyn, they just signed him. So those spots are taken.
Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges, yeah. So you got so many different guys right there. DiVincenzo, like you're not going to play him. But you're scared to miss on the next big thing. And a lot of people's jobs are on the line because of picks like a Wembanyama or Dirk and those things coming into fruition, Joker. So
but we knew that none of these guys were Wembanyama. Like the Joker thing, I'll grant you, because he was, just a loaf of bread running around out there. He doesn't jump. It's one of the most inexplicable things I've ever seen, and he's the most unstoppable thing in basketball right now.
Taco Bell commercial.
Truly,
while he was drafted. It just says it all.
He's just truly a unique that way. Yeah. So, I put him and Wemby to the side because both of those things are shooting stars. They're anomalies. I understand that is as much of what the draft process is, whether it's the NBA, the NFL, or what have you, because Josh Allen exists for that reason. Out of Wyoming with a completion percentage that's below 50%, and still he's a first round draft pick. But in basketball, I would think that there would still be that level of, all right, I need somebody who can fundamentally fill a role for my offense. And I thought that was going to make the most sense for the Charlotte Hornets and Dalton Knecht, even though that was probably, buying at the highest point of where he could have been drafted, where they picked 6th overall. To see him slide 11 spots more and see teams devalue what I would think they would fundamentally value was the thing that, always surprises me about this, but everybody's opinions. My opinion is subjective. Their opinions are based on tape study that I do not have, so I'll defer. Yeah, but this is the thing. To your point, they're proven. So you know what you're going to get. So you can take them anytime. The draft is all predicated on potential now. That's the only thing it is. That's why you see 18, 19-year-old guys going in the draft, and the guys that are 22, 23 that are proven unanimous All-Americans, like outside of Zach Edey, you know what you're going to get. So you can plug and go. You can take them later in the first round, and the way it's slated now, with not the first round contracts not being that long of guarantees, you're going to get out of your contract anyway. So they would rather lock up the potential and groom them to try to come in and hopefully get a spark out of them, and then you get a Luka Doncic or something like that. But they don't want to miss that. You can miss on a Dalton Knecht that's proven and go find another one. That's the way they feel. I can find another 24-year-old. I can find another 25-year-old. I can't find another 18-year-old that may blossom into an NBA superstar. That's what they're gonna put it on every time. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. Early 90s, 96 draft and all of that, Antoine Walker, Marcus Camby, those guys were sophomores and juniors coming out, and they had to be forced out of college. It's not the case anymore.
So Dalton Knecht, not just the age thing, but how long he has to go defensively, also a part of it, right? And it's why he came to Tennessee, but he also only had a year, but still a ways to go in that regard. How do you feel about, what do you like or not like about his landing spot with obviously an extremely inexperienced head coach in J.J. Redick that is surrounding himself with experienced assistants? What do you like and dislike about the landing spot developmentally?
Yeah, I love the developmental part because you're going to be around a veteran bunch. This Lakers team was a really good team getting ready to go into the playoffs. They just had a bunch of injuries take place. Prince got injured. The guard, golly, I went blank on him, that came over, he got injured from Miami. Like, you had a good team where the Lakers could have made a run. So to be able to plug a piece in like him, you got to pick it up when you got veterans around you. All you got to do is stay in line, follow what the guy's doing in front of you. Everybody's going to be able to play defense because they have 3-and-D guys. So that's an easy spot to fill in. All you got to do is, it's not like you're going to be asked to carry the team. You know what I'm saying? Focus on what you got to. Commit to keeping a guy in front of you for 2 dribbles. Dalton Knecht can do that. He's athletic enough to do that. He's long enough to do that. And when you get taken in the first round, they see something that they like. And more so than that defensive part, you need to be able to knock down the open shot. Outside of Austin Reeves, who was the person knocking down the open shot? No one. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you'll be able to open up the floor, let AD be able to do what he's going to do, and depending on what they do with LeBron, it opens up the floor for him.
Ron Slay is here with us, 3HL 3 to 6 later this this afternoon. Of course, the Boom Boom Room always ready. You can check out his interview, the show's interview with Will Levis that they did a week ago today. It's available on the Zone's YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. I'm going to ask you a broad question, and I guess it could be applicable since Olympic play is not that far ahead either. But how would you describe the state of American basketball?
I think it's in a good state. Let me clear my throat first. I think it's in a good state, and the reason being is because you now know with the Redeem team going over, that Kobe team, LeBron team, all of those, you're no longer playing for you. Anybody that gets on the Olympic team understand, women's team or the men's team, understand you're playing for the country. That's the advantage that Europe had over us. They knew they were playing for the country. They knew they were going to be with teams and guys gathered that you have been playing with for 5, 6, 7 years. During their European season, it's going to be 2 or 3 breaks that they get to go to the mountains, practice for a week. So now you take that camaraderie that they have, and you sprinkle it in with 2 or 3 NBA players from Europe. You got your team over there. Over here, the problem was you're taking guys competing against each other and trying to be the alpha. You got 12 alphas that you're going to put on the team. Nobody can understand who's going to get the ball, who's going to play defense, who's going to rebound, who's pushing the break. Now you have an understanding of that. That's why I thought Coach K, he got things back into order the way they are. With Kobe taking the lead, LeBron, that's why you need to keep these veterans whole. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron, all these guys have to play to be able to pass the torch down to guys like Ant-Man, Joel Embiid, Paolo Banchero, so they can understand what it is like to play. When they walk them in that room and you saw Grant Hill and them hand them the USA jersey, you saw it on their face. It was totally different now when you accept that jersey. Oh, man, I get to play for the USA. You know what I'm saying? It's not a vacation. It's not we going over here to kick it. We're going over here for a job, and everybody understands it now. So I think it's evened out. If you would ask me this before that Redeem team took place, I would be like, man, they're on our heels, and they catching us. Competitively, they are, for sure. But as far as us understanding what we're going to play for, totally different.
Well, I ask not just in the context of the Olympics, because not only are the first and second overall picks international players last night, but it does feel like the European basketball movement has found a way to get ahead of the curve where international players were knocked, it seems, for the longest time because of whatever their level of competition, you know, it not being American basketball, how do you translate to the league and things like that. And that's been disproven time in and time out. But when I ask you the state of American basketball, it's not just about the Olympics, although that has a huge part to play in, you know, the interest and the way that prospects continue to lean in on that. But I'm just kind of curious how you view it within the context of international basketball, because you've had good context on both.
Yeah, when you look at the NBA game now, it's translated to the European style. It's all transition. You don't see, with the American game at first, was come down, you can run a box set, or you can have 2 guys exiting underneath with 2 screens and setting up plays. That's no longer the idea of it. The ball is, get the ball to whoever's running the offense, bring the ball up, drag with the big man in a pick and roll, try to get the mismatch. That's European style. Open floor. That's why the difference and the separator is when guys come over from Europe, they don't understand when the last 4 minutes of the game happens, because it's no longer just pick and roll. It's about going to matchups and can you stay in front of me. So when you talk about D'Antoni, Popovich, all of these guys ushering in the European style of basketball, that's where the game is. That's where it's always going to be until things have to go back and change. That's why I think it's different for the big man. If you can't shoot, you can't play. That's why it's almost a wonder, like, what are they expecting out of a guy like Zach Edey?
I don't want to talk about it.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just like his game doesn't necessarily translate where a Porzingis does, a Joel Embiid does, a Jokic does. These guys can play because you're playing perimeter-oriented, nobody underneath, there's so much space. That came from Europe. You always play with 1 guy underneath and 4 guys around. That's what you're playing with now in America.
Well, I'm curious about the Edey thing, because we saw Oscar Tshiebwe be the most dominant post player in college hoops for 2 years, goes undrafted. We see Zach Edey be the most dominant player in the post for 2 years at the college level. He's a top 10 pick.
Yep.
What besides Edey being 7'4" and Sheboy being 6'8" is the difference? Or is
I don't know. You may have answered your own question.
That's a big answer, but he's more polished. Zach Edey is offensively. You could actually give him the ball on the block and get a move, even though he overpowers everybody. He's taller than everybody. He don't really have to do a move. He could act like Shaq, but he didn't need to. He could do a turnaround jumper. He could do a hook shot. Oscar Sheboy had to bang, 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 throw the ball on the rim, go get it like he was Moses Malone or something. That doesn't work. And nobody's slowing their game down for you, Oscar Sheboy, to give you the ball inside. Know you going to miss, get the rebound. We got other guys for that. You're a piece. Zach Edey is totally different because you can give him the ball and he can be the catalyst for your offense. I just don't know how he does that with Jackson, John Morant, Bane, all these different weapons out there. Like, who's slowing down to say, let's give Zach Edey the ball? In this style that you just mentioned that the European has ushered into the NBA game now.
Because you can't, one would think, leave him on the court. But, like, I can, as much as I despise the idea of Zach Edey, I don't hate him personally.
Yeah,
and I hear, tremendous
really
things. He's the National Player of the Year for a reason. He is excellent, to his credit. But I think of him, when I look at him, and it's not just because they're both 7'4", but I think of him in the same way that I think of Boban. Like a player who can give you things, can give you minutes offensively, but you know that at some point he has to come off the floor. It's like a reverse Gobert.
Yep, that's hit it on the head. That's exactly what it is. So he's more polished offensively inside of 14 feet, though. That's the only thing I'll give Zach Edey. Boban won't score like that. Rudy Gobert, we saw him shooting shot put floaters off of the scoreboard, and it was like, what are you doing? But they had to take him out the game. So you don't have to do that with Zach Edey.
Those are those moments where you hear that the entire NBA just hates Rudy Gobert, and then you say, why? Why? Besides him coughing on microphones and things like that,
rubbing the mics.
Rudy Gobert single-handedly starting COVID in the world. No, I'm kidding.
What are you doing with Gobert? But it's Zach Edey does bring something. It's like he's a different throwback in a sense because he can score. Like a lot of bigs are now, when you talk about Donovan Klingman, if they wanted to get him, he's a rim protector, lob. That's it. Maybe get a 10-foot shot every now and then, but he knows he's not going to get the ball. Zach Edey expects to get the ball. That's why I don't understand how this is going to work. Defensively, it's going to be a problem. If you got Porzingis on your team, you're just going to go pick and pop and tell Zach Edey to go out there and guard him. You got Joel Embiid. Same thing. You're going to tell him to go out there and guard you. They go small. You got Paolo Banchero down there. Vujacic, you're going to tell him to go out there and guard him. It's not going to work. So what makes it up? Jaren Jackson does not want to be inside. So that's the ace in the hole that Zach Edey has that he can remain on for. Jackson, his man 6'11", averaging 5 rebounds.
It is. I mean, and I remember that being a conversation. It's not nearly the same kind of player, but I remember that being such a big conversation around Anthony Davis.
Same thing.
Like just doesn't want to be in the post.
For him and Boogie, when him and Boogie Cousins were together, that's why he thrived.
So in theory, but Jaren Jackson Jr. is not Anthony Davis.
Nope.
Not even close. Nope. So the logic there is what infuriates me even more.
And
other
to
than
your
being
point,
spat in my face because Zach Edey is in the state of Tennessee.
Going down the stretch, it's about matchups.
Yeah.
Minnesota was built to beat Denver. Okay, Memphis, y'all are built now, to compete with Denver. But what happens outside of that? What you going to do with Minnesota when they go small? What you going to do with the Lakers? What you going to do with Houston? Like, all of these other teams, Dallas would eat them alive in pick and roll. Look, would throw lobs all day long, just like UConn did against Purdue. So it's going to be interesting how it play out. You got to work it out.
Dalton Connect, after he gets drafted yesterday, does shows the lining of his jacket with the Tennessee stuff. He shouts out the baseball team, gives a big shout out to the Vols. He's passing the torch down to Chaz Lanier, the transfer from North Florida, local guy, right? Ensworth High School. Ensworth School, I should say. Can you explain what the Kevin Durant challenge is? And what Chaz Lanier did very recently that no other Tennessee basketball player has done under Rick Barnes.
So the Kevin Durant challenge is you have 7 spots around the three-point line. You have to make 9 out of 10. You only get if you miss 2 shots on that one spot, you have to go back to the beginning. So you can make it all the way to the end. You miss one, you start all the way over. So it essentially went 63 for what? What is 9 times?
Oh, don't do math on the
63
air.
for 70. He went for 63 for 70. And he could have went 10 for 10 from some of those spots.
The way Lucas and I both shook our heads at you like, no math.
But that's the thing, man. So I saw Bruce Pearl had something similar with Chris Lofton. They called it the Chris Lofton drill. You had to make five shots in 5 different spots on the three-point line, but you started at 1. And you went 5 different spots, 1, 1, 1, went all the way back around 2, 2, 2. You couldn't miss it. CeeLo was the only person I ever seen do this. Juwan Smith may have made it once, but KD is the only one that made this KD drill, hence the name. Mm-hmm. And Chaz Lanier did it on his second goal.
That's disgusting.
First to complete the drill since Kevin Durant.
Yes. That's on his second try. Like, you got to understand the rigorous workouts that they've been put through. This ain't like you walking in the gym and say, all right, Chaz, you fresh, let's go.
To do this with no legs?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's different, man. So the man shoot the cover off the ball. The only thing he got to work on is strength, and he's going to get that because of the strength coach, and being able to handle the ball on pick and rolls is because it's a different level as far as what we saw with Dalton struggle with some as well. So
it's
time
read
about SEC.
Well, it's going to be a fascinating thing to watch. Certainly, come basketball season. Ron Slay, 3 to 6, 3HL. Time for the midday nap.
Most definitely. I'm going to have to get this food first.
Oh yeah,
he's going to crawl under the console here. He's probably got a segment in like 2 hours.
Bert, leave a cotta under there for me. Send me to the shadows.
Get your ass to the shadows. That's what it sounds like in reverse. I still haven't forgiven that man for making me and Grace take a shot at Don Julio at 3:30 in the morning before I got on the plane home from his wedding. Do you know what I would have done to you if my girlfriend would have thrown up on that airplane next to me?
That was beautiful. People don't understand how.
I have never in my life wanted to just keel over and die that way, Sly.
That was a great time.
That was a great time. 3HL, 3 to 6. Coming up next. What are we doing? It doesn't say anything on my grid.
Find out next.
Uh-oh. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. I cannot believe you tweeted this poll from my account.
What poll?
Did the Grizzlies spit in the face of Vols fans last night?
Who tweeted it? I tweeted it.
You tweeted that from my account.
It's your account. Why would I tweet from your account?
Because famously, for the last 3.5 years, you have access to my Twitter account for the sole purpose of tweeting the
I'm
polls.
looking at the tweet. It says Buck Rising. Am I Buck Rising? Make this make sense, Jackson.
Sounds like a Buck Rising tweet. Sounds like something he would say. He did yell about how the Grizzlies did that.
It's his face on the profile picture. Be logical for a second.
Yes.
Use your critical thinking skills.
Where to land the plane there?
Took me a second.
I saw you struggling. So, is Dalton Connect going to struggle in the NBA? I don't know necessarily what that's going to look like for him, and nor do I really know what J.J. Redick is going to be as a strategic kind of coach. That I mean, we understand that J.J. Redick has been talking about basketball and basketball strategy more specifically at a very high level. I don't doubt his acumen to be able to put players in position to succeed. The thing that's always curious to me about great players, J.J. Redick was a great player, right? A great college player, long pro career, made over $100 million in his career. J.J. Redick is, I consider him to be not Michael Jordan or anything like that, be a great NBA basketball player.
Yes.
The problem with greats in anything, really, when they try to impart their wisdom, is if you can't execute at the level of greatness that they can, do they get frustrated, and can they find a way to help you circumvent that lack of, top-end talent or otherworldly hand-eye core, whatever they're trying to help you overcome that they have as a skill that made them successful as a basketball player. I don't know what J.J. Redick is going to be that way.
The more you refer to him as an NBA great, the tougher it is to really wrap your head around.
It is.
Is he? I mean, he had a really good career. He had a great career. I don't think that makes one of the greats, right? He never won a championship.
Okay,
was never an all-star.
Maybe a great NBA basketball player is the way to phrase it as opposed to an NBA great.
To play in the NBA for well over a decade, that is a phenomenal career.
It is funny how you flip the words that way and it changes the meaning
it's true.
that
It changes the context of it. It's going to be so fascinating. I would love to just be a fly on the wall for a Lakers practice ran by J.J. Redick. I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. But Dalton's going to get him buckets, right? And isn't that the talk about the Lakers, that's just what they need right now?
They just need a bucket getter. So, is Dalton Connect going to be a fit for what it is that the Lakers need? He slides to 17 last night in the NBA draft, and Tim Legler, who is a former NBA basketball player himself, a former great shooter himself, speaking on the ESPN broadcast about the fit and skill of Dalton Connect.
Love it, and it's funny, when they showed the draft room prior to announcing this pick, and I saw how excited they were, particularly J.J. Redick, I knew exactly who they were about to pick. Because here's the thing, they need shooting. They need somebody who can step in now. They don't have time to develop a 19-year-old when you've got LeBron James for a couple more years and you're still trying to win a championship with LeBron and AD. You need a guy that you can plug and play immediately. And nobody is more NBA ready in this draft than Dalton Connect. So he's 23, and it's funny, that worked against him, and that is why he slid down. Here's the other thing. Playing for J.J. Redick, who is going to maximize more what Dalton Connect can do off the ball and understanding and reading how to set your man up, come off screens, how to play without the basketball, than J.J. Redick. He did it his entire career. So Dalton Connect couldn't have ended up in a better spot. The Lakers, I don't think, could have gotten a better pick at that spot. And I think Philadelphia, who picked one spot earlier, may be regretting this when you look at this pick, maybe halfway through the season or certainly a couple years down the road.
And that was kind of one of my points with Slay. He's a skilled basketball player. You know tangibly what skills he brings to the table, to your team right now when you put him in the lineup. A lot of these French international, not just French international players, but a lot of the international players that are projections, or a lot of the American players that are projections, because there's plenty of those too. This happened to be a down NBA draft class, and certainly from the world of college basketball here in the NCAA, it was a down year for prospects. But if I know that Dalton Connect can do one specific thing right out of the gate right now, and not just that, but if I can hone it initially to one specific thing and then build upon that and try and circumvent his defensive shortcomings, which he does very much have and will very much have to work on at the next level, to me, maybe I would be too safe as a GM because I would rather have the thing that I know versus the thing that projects.
Now, 100%.
But I don't think that's so antithetical to the way that personnel people do these things, Lucas, and there has to be a reason for that. I mean, it can't just be that maybe you'll land a Wembanyama out there because there's only one Wemby. That's my point with all of this. You don't want to be the person who passes on the guy that hits, right? You don't want to be the general manager who picks after Wembanyama or who, nobody passed over Wembanyama, but you don't want to be the person that takes Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes, right?
It's just such an interesting line of logic. Like Slay was saying, jobs are on the line, right? There's so much pressure to be the one that finds that 18, 19-year-old that hits, that's what teams are going to do. But it almost seems like it's directly going against what you're talking about with jobs on the line, is then you're turning around and going the riskier path, right? Instead of taking the 23-year-old who is a more finished product, who can still grow and develop, but can come in and be an instant contributor for you. I kind of did a double take when I heard Tim Legler say the most NBA-ready player in the draft.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't study the NBA draft. I'm not going to pretend to know these prospects coming over from France.
And again, it's a down year in the draft.
Yeah, but by the way, Rob Dillingham with Anthony Edwards in Minnesota is going to be awesome. But that kind of took me by surprise to hear Legler say that. But someone in the F&M Bank chat, B French, says Grizzlies got the guy they needed. Dalton being a Laker means we get to actually watch him and not get stuck looking for Valley sports games that get blacked out.
Oh my God, that's so true. Can wait, so we can't even watch the Grizzlies right now. Or I can on Comcast.
Yeah, I don't know. We talked earlier in the week, I think it was this week, about what the Preds reportedly could be exploring in terms of different ways of streaming their games and giving fans access. I don't know anything about what the Grizzlies would be looking to do, but I sure as hell can watch the Lakers. I know that.
Yeah, Lakers, League Pass. Let's do it.
Lake Show.
Famously, a Lakers show.
Always have been.
615-737-1045 is the number. Coming up next, we'll get back to our team series around the NFL. We'll also get into the best football, basketball, and baseball trios in the SEC and where Tennessee ranks with Heupel, with Barnes, and with Tony Vitello, the latest national champion. Second hour, I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The first round of the NBA draft was on Wednesday. Tennessee star Dalton Knecht fell to 17th overall, where he was drafted by the LA Lakers. The Memphis Grizzlies had the number 9 pick and took Purdue center Zach Edey. Second round of the NBA draft starts this afternoon at 3 p.m. On Wednesday, the Titans announced an open practice at Nissan Stadium July 27th. You can visit TennesseeTitans.com to find out how to claim your free ticket. Tonight, the U.S. men's national team continues group stage play in Copa America, taking on Panama in Group C action from Atlanta. Kickoff is at 5 p.m. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour is upon us. Welcome in. We're happy to have you. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to join in. Now, it made me laugh because Lucas is doing his breaking sports news update. Is a Tennessee Titans open practice worthy of the breaking sports news update?
No, don't do that
damn
to
Titans
people.
fans are just sitting there waiting for that awful laser light show to tell them that Justin Simmons signed with the Titans, and instead we give them, hey, you can go to a stadium practice on a Saturday in July.
Well, what the hell else do you want me to talk about?
I don't know, bud. It made me laugh. That's why Jackson, I think, has been a little more nervy lately, because the updates are getting shorter and shorter by the day, which means that it is incumbent upon me to be on time to make sure that the show can get off the ground.
I mean, is it breaking news to tell you that NBC has announced an AI recreation of Al Michaels' voice is going to be part of their Olympics coverage? Do you see this?
Yeah, that is actually news. No. Can we get into that really quickly? I know we're going to talk, we're doing our team series here, but I am actually curious about that.
This is NBCSports.com put out a press release. Ari Myrov kind of summed it up, that the feature is going to be implemented for a segment called Your Daily Olympic Recap on Peacock. Basically, it's going to provide fans with a customized highlight feature of the most relevant events from the previous day, and they will feature clips from their Olympics coverage and will all be narrated by AI recreation of Al Michaels' voice.
I'm reading a Vanity Fair article about this from yesterday. Quote, it was astonishing how NBC convinced Al Michaels to embrace his AI voice for Olympics coverage. I'm interested because it's our business, one, and we use our voice for work, so I'm kind of curious about all that. Is there going to be an AI Lucas Panzica trying to take my job at some point in time instead of the real one?
How do you know this is not AI Lucas Panzica?
Fair enough. Well, it's a little too intelligent to be AI at this point. Although it's never going to be as dumb.
The rare compliment.
Yeah, the rare compliment. Either way, so this Tennessee, Bill Lee just did a thing with Luke Bryan and some other famous country artists and musicians downtown about protecting the rights to their voice from artificial intelligence. Like the fake AI Drake song that was out there for a while and things like that, but because AI is getting smarter and smarter and getting better and better at this, and now we have Al Michaels. It's not really Al Michaels narrating the Olympics.
Country music should be afraid, because you talk about a genre that you can throw into an AI mixer and spit out a hit country song. I feel like country music is, if they can recreate a Drake song in The Weeknd, they can recreate hit country songs easily. Are you kidding me?
That is such a shot at the entire industry that is across the street from us right now.
Trucks, girls, and beer, throw it into an AI mixer, and you've got yourself a top 10 hit.
No, they already did it. You didn't see Antonio Brown tweet out the AI country song last night?
No.
I don't know that we could play it on air. It's about the Hawk Tua situation.
No.
Anyway, so the network using an artificial clone of the legendary broadcaster's voice to narrate its daily recaps of the summer event. Quote, it was not only close, Al Michaels says of the technology, it was almost 2% off perfect.
Oh,
I don't want to hear that.
That's so scary.
Why would you do that, Al? Al, you've banged the entire industry. You know how stupid Lucas and Jackson and I are that we do this radio show? Do you know what? Do you know how quickly and how much more cheaply our bosses would replace us if they could do an actual professional radio broadcast?
Hold on. You're surprised by this from Al Michaels, who doesn't seem to give a solitary damn about whatever Thursday night game he's broadcasting. You're surprised that he's like, oh, I'll take your money and not have to do
that's the
swimming?
Thing. That's the
absolutely.
Because it still is. There has to be an Al Michaels for there to be an AI Al Michaels voice. But what is that, would you rather have AI? So Charles Davis isn't doing Madden this year, correct? I think they have a different voice for Madden this year. Jackson, do you know the answer to this?
Yes. So they're doing multiple commentary teams this year, like college football is.
Okay.
He is on one of the broadcast teams. They're just adding more.
Got it. The Madden stuff, the voice tracking, and listen, plenty of people work hard for a living, but the voice tracking of the Madden stuff is or the college football game that they're going to have to do now, or that they have done. That is a really labor-intensive process. If you can just sign the rights to your voice to let them do all that crap with AI and still get a paycheck anyway, maybe it's not as big a paycheck, but still, the amount of time that you save, if you're one of those people, that would be excellent. I'm just curious. I mean, how quickly can it learn? And how far away from it are we of the idea that it can learn in real time, like the idea of doing a game? If AI Al Michaels can read lines, how far away are we from, hey, Al Michaels doesn't want to schlep to Green Bay on Thursday night this year? We can let the computer do it and save a bunch of money.
Make him 30 years younger.
That's what I'm saying. He'll be great. He'll look great. He'll love it.
Oh, that's terrifying.
That's what I'm saying. I don't like any of this.
I don't either. Man.
But it's not, the thing that I'm comforted by slightly is that it's not just our industry. It's everybody's industry. We're all going to be replaced at some point. And so, we can all fight the machines together.
Typical Mead points out that you can spell out Al Michaels or AI Michaels, and it looks the exact same. The lowercase L and the capital I.
Oh, I don't like that at all. That was jarring.
Man. Speaking of, On3 Sports is reporting that EA Sports College Football 25 informed athletes today whether or not they will be in the video game when it drops in July. So athletes were able to opt in. Over 14,000 did, and they get the $600 and a copy of the game.
18 days.
Robert Hartzig on YouTube. You can interact with the show. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We really haven't done much. We were on the forefront of AI because we were having it write poems about Will Levis, and now AI Al Michaels a year later is coming for all of our jobs.
I have a Will Levis poem that we never read because we were going to read it to Will Levis.
Why can't we still do that?
It was going to be my tearful apology for doubting him coming out from the draft.
We can still do that?
Yeah, we had AI put it together last fall. It's just sitting in my phone.
Oh, my God. Really? Oh, well, then training camp, we have to get them on. Okay, we'll do that. That's how about that for a long play tease? Point being, Robert Hartzig on YouTube writes, AI moves very quickly. I do marketing work and have nearly automated all of my tasks with AI. I finish projects 90% faster now. Maybe an inexact number, but still, he's finishing projects at a much quicker rate. And I'm not even joking, it's insanely powerful. Is AI capable of making us a more efficient show? That's how we'll know we're banged. When AI is capable of making this show actually sound like a professional radio broadcast, then we'll know that the world is over.
You know what AI can't recreate? Bert. He's the safest of all of us.
I don't think that's true.
No, Bert is AI proof. You cannot.
He's not even the most original Bert with the shtick that he does.
You cannot make a computer have the mind of Robert Walsh.
Bert is a knockoff Bert Chrysler.
Bert is
it's just
no, he's not.
A shirtless drunk dude wandering around with a cigarette in his mouth. He's not even an original bit.
Bert is our protective shield from AI coming into this business.
Bert's the one who brought it to us.
Yes,
Bert is the person who let it in. Okay,
it's true.
This is not you trying to act as if Robert Walsh is capable of protecting or safeguarding us from anything other than secondhand smoke if he moves a little further down the hallway.
Well, here's why we're impervious to this, because AI does things better and efficiently, right?
Yes. So the show will live forever.
We will live forever. That's our whole thing. We don't want this show to be better and more efficient.
No, I actively work against the show being better. I don't like it as much. It's less
AI
fun.
proof.
How about that? If the baseball team is BVS proof, then this show is automated intelligence proof. Artificial intelligence? Automated intelligence?
Artificial.
See, can't even do that right. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. We'll get into our team preview a little later on. Coming up next, though, we'll do the best football, basketball, and baseball coaching trios in the SEC and where Tennessee ranks. We'll tell you. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. So many people trust Two Rivers Ford. Football players, working moms, business owners. Why? Because Two Rivers Ford has been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Welcome back to the show, 615-737-1045. That is the number if you want to jump in. We were just talking about artificial intelligence working its way into sports. It's just we haven't spent much time on it, like I was saying earlier, and for all the hand-wringing about the Titans analytics hire and stuff like that. How far are we from AI, if not already in sports, further optimizing the sports data analytics departments? I mean, in every facility, in every kind of, workplace and workspace, is there not optimization that could be done by artificial intelligence? I'm certain that's true. I'm certain that's what they're trying to figure out. That's why they keep hiring data scientists and things like that over at St. Thomas Sports Park. So we'll take your phone calls on it before we get into the best football, basketball, and baseball coaching trios in the SEC. 615-737-1045 is the number. Let's start with Jimmy, who works in it just says music office.
I called a couple weeks ago. I work for the state.
Oh, that's right. Hey, buddy.
Hey, good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Love the show. I think you guys do a great job. I think the entire station does a really good job of being genuine and relatable, and I think that's why you guys are so successful. So,
yes, many people have often told me how relatable I am, Jimmy. It's something that runs to my core. It's true.
Well, maybe not you, Buck, but maybe Lucas for sure.
For sure.
So artificial intelligence. Yeah, I was got to be a part of the whole AI legislation that Governor Bill Lee launched back in earlier this year, and Tennessee is actually one of the reason why Tennessee was the first state to present the legislation that covered voice is because we already had intellectual property legislation that covered songwriters. And so it is very important that the NFL, all the leagues across sport get involved on some kind of AI legislation that protects them as well, because it's a big deal, and it's not just country music that's that is easily ripped off. It could be anyone. So that's my 2 cents anyway.
Well, your 2 cents is actually informed, unlike us, Jimmy. So thank you for the call. We appreciate it. 615-737-1045. is how you jump in. I think I'm going to make that my mission for the year, is to get the rights to Lucas's voice before he does it. I'm going to get the AI rights to your voice before you do, and I'm going to make money off of it.
And I will get yours, and ours will just go back and forth.
You can't replace me?
I think we already have, kind of, in essence, right? We already have a version of this. It's just not smart. It's not learned. It's kind of dumb. It just sits back there. Well, no, that's me. Yeah, that one. Is that the... No, he's later tonight.
Yeah, that one's topical. just unloading the clip over there. You're gonna get me out of the studio, and just keep playing that I'm an idiot and I was wrong and call it AI.
That's all I want. I just want to win all the arguments, and I'll have Jackson play that, and that'll be you.
Well, who knows if AI is ever going to be coaching sports teams anytime soon? Athletic departments sure would save a whole lot of money.
No, I think as long as there's sports, there will always be overpays in sports, no matter what it is, even if it is for AI learning to take over the coaching. But you're correct. we do not have AI coaches just yet, although I would take refs in a heartbeat, probably. So with that said, on the heels of a national championship in the College World Series for the Tennessee baseball team, there was a picture that was making the rounds in Omaha after the fact. And it's a picture of shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, Tony Vitello, who won the Natty, with Rick Barnes, the men's basketball coach, and Josh Heupel, the football coach at the University of Tennessee. And I saw a lot of Vols fans interacting, reacting to that specific photo. Just the idea of, I mean, even some Tennessee fans saying on social media, the idea that it gave you chills to see that picture because that's who's running Tennessee athletics to an extent. Obviously, Lady Vols we've talked about, and not top to bottom. And Danny White is at the head of the thing, so Danny White should have some kind of like puppet master situation behind them, but still.
The three sports that drive the ship.
Yes, and that those three, who are highly competent, I would regard Rick Barnes as one of the best basketball coaches in college basketball right now, men's or women's. I would regard Tony Vitello as one of the best baseball coaches in college baseball right now. Heupel, I don't know yet. I'm not really sure. I have an idea. Feel good about where things are heading. It's kind of like Levis. Yeah, okay, I'm optimistic. There are things there that I like, but top coach in the country, we'll find out.
That 11-win season goes such a long way in supporting that argument, right?
It sure does. Well, that Hendon Hook, the resurrection, for lack of a better term, of Hendon Hooker as a viable and then NFL quarterback, viable college and then NFL quarterback, Heisman Trophy frontrunner until he wasn't, type of situation. That is as good a resume piece as Josh Heupel has, but I'd like to see him, I hate to do the sports thing, but do it again.
Yeah, of course.
So, if I go in with a hand of Vitello, Barnes, and Heupel in the SEC, it's a pretty good trio.
Yep.
You have gone about this exercise putting together the trios of every SEC program?
Kyle Tucker, a hat tip to him, because I saw that he was the first to throw up this question, quoting a tweet of that picture that you talked about, Barnes, Heupel, and Vitello after the game. Kyle Tucker, who covers Kentucky athletics for The Athletic, used to cover the Titans a little bit as well. And he asked the question, is there a better coaching trio in these three sports in college athletics than those three? We'll keep it to the SEC for now, because looking around the Southeastern Conference, it's hard to come up with a three that can match the championships that Rick Barnes and Tony Vitello have combined for. You're talking about 4 total regular season SEC titles, 3 total SEC tournament titles, and now 1 national title with Tony Vitello. Obviously, Heupel is the only one of those 3 without a national championship. But in the SEC, I thought about Arkansas with John Calipari, Dave Van Horn, coaching the baseball team, legend, and Sam Pittman, who's done a nice job coaching the football team. But that's the thing.
Last 2 years have been tough.
That's the thing. You can do the 1-2, and it's a lot harder to find the 3. LSU, Brian Kelly's the football coach. Mm-hmm. Jay Johnson, great baseball coach. You probably have to replace Matt McMahon, the men's basketball coach, with Kim Mulkey.
I think we should be able to do that.
I think so, too. When the women's basketball program is at the forefront the way it is for LSU, national champs, then LSU probably is the closest to this if you bring Kim Mulkey into the discussion.
Oh, I mean, okay, so Brian Kelly, Kim Mulkey, who's the baseball coach?
Jay Johnson.
Jay Johnson, who replaced, longtime LSU baseball
Minieri.
Minieri.
Yeah.
Is he back in college baseball? I thought I saw a headline about him coming back for another job here recently.
He is currently the head coach at South Carolina. Yeah, he just took the USC job.
Back in the SEC. I'm not going to pretend to know the LSU baseball coach's resume like that, other than I have seen Tennessee play LSU.
Yeah.
But that's a high-level program.
High-level program. They were in Omaha last year.
Right.
And, I mean, he's been to Omaha 3 times now, was fantastic as the head coach at Arizona. LSU, a national championship level program. Jay Johnson's going into year 4 at LSU. So they're always going to be in that conversation.
So let's just keep it between those two. Is there a better trio to put up against Tennessee's than that one?
Outside of the SEC, well, real quick, Ole Miss is intriguing because Chris Beard and what he's accomplished at Texas Tech, and then obviously was the head coach at Texas, hasn't been at Ole Miss long enough to bring his Ole Miss resume into this discussion. This is what, year 2 for Beard coming up?
This will be year 2.
But Mike Bianco won the national championship 2 years ago, Ole Miss baseball, and of course Lane Kiffin, who is making double-digit win seasons routine for Ole Miss football, which is unheard of in that football's program history. So maybe Ole Miss would be closest to this. Alabama, not so much. You have Nate Oates, you have Kalen DeBoer, and Rob Vaughn is the baseball coach they hired to replace Brad Bohannon, who had to get fired for the gambling scandal.
So Nate Oates is the best resume on there right now.
Well, Nate Oates doesn't have a national championship.
But neither does Kalen DeBoer.
Oh, sorry, for Alabama. Yes,
Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct.
Nate Oates is, imagine that. Nate Oates is the face of Alabama athletics right now. That's correct. I mean, obviously the football coaches, but you get my point.
Around the SEC, you can look at a place like UNC with Hubert Davis and Scott Forbes, who's done a phenomenal job at UNC, and Mac Brown on the football side. Florida State has Mike Norvell, who just won an ACC championship. Link Jarrett just took FSU to the College World Series, and Leonard Hamilton is a long-standing legend. They have not been in the postseason, though, for a few years
They've fallen off.
Yeah, I think 3 years ago they made that Sweet 16 run and then have not been heard from since.
I shouldn't do this, but I associate Leonard Hamilton over, at least in my lifetime, of underachieving. Even though he has been consistently there and competitive, he has always had way too much talent to make it or to not make it further in the tournament the way he has anyway.
It's very difficult to find 2 head coaches with these 3 sports that we're talking about, football, baseball, basketball, to find 2 coaches at the same program with the national championship.
Sure.
The only one I could find was UVA with Tony Bennett and Brian O'Connor coaching baseball. But then you have Tony Elliott, right? And the UVA football program has been a disaster for the last few years, really since they hired Justin Fuente.
Well, Tony Bennett is not, it doesn't
exactly
feel like
inspiring.
national champion Tony Bennett anymore.
No, it's not necessarily inspiring. So it's a really interesting discussion. Does Tennessee have the best football, baseball, and men's basketball head coaching trio, not just in the SEC, but in the country? And I would like to hear arguments
Against,
yes, because I do think it is hard to come up with a significant argument against. Michael on the F&M Bank chat says UNC is the only one that he can really bring up.
I really place a high value on Mac Brown. I really do. There have been moments where, they have underachieved or let a game get away from them that they shouldn't have. I'm not saying that Mac Brown at North Carolina has been a national championship contender or anything like that, but they have been competitive. He's made North Carolina football something that we talk about year in and year out. They recruit at a high level. Mac Brown is an established national championship winning coach. The LSU one with Mulkey is probably the one that I'm most hung up on.
Yeah.
Because Kim Mulkey is so, whatever she is as a personality or a polarizing figure or whatever you think of Kim Mulkey, there is no question that she is excellent. Excellent, excellent. Brian Kelly is also excellent, even though he can be a bit of a laughingstock sometime or an easy joke, right? The LSU baseball program, again, like I said, the resume is solid, if not historic, the way that Paul Manier's was at LSU, but that is not a program that I doubt. That I would doubt against, but put up against Tony Vitello, it's tough to argue any baseball coach in the SEC right now is better than Tony Vitello historically, other than Tim Corbin.
And that group of LSU coaches doesn't have the combined titles that Tennessee's does.
Right.
Of course, the thing with Tennessee's is who's the one coach omitted from that list that coaches that have won championships. It's Heupel. Obviously, that's the most important part.
Heupel's clearly third.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In terms of what he's accomplished. But
how would you stack Barnes and Vitello?
Oh, Vitello's number one. Vitello's reached the pinnacle. Vitello has won 2 regular seasons, 2 SEC tournaments, and just how quickly he got it up and at the forefront of. So it is easily Tony Vitello number 1, Barnes 2, Heupel 3. Heupel has given Tennessee football its best season in 2 decades. He has given Tennessee football momentum and its most talented quarterback prospect since, I don't know who, Casey Clausen, Peyton Manning. So obviously the optimism, the momentum is there for Heupel. But if you were to ask Georgia fans as part of this exercise, would you rather have 3 very well-rounded head coaches with championships in basketball and baseball and 10-win seasons
It is
in
a
football?
participation trophy argument to a place like Georgia that says, shut up, we are going to win the football championship again.
Yeah, for Georgia fans, it's to hell with that. Give us the back-to-back national championships.
We had Anthony Edwards and still didn't care.
Yeah, you can have our basketball program. You can have our baseball program. Well, we're good. So, the Georgia fans may be laughing listening to this discussion. Sure. But it is an interesting conversation.
But it does matter. It does matter because it's a representative sample size, even though it is 3 men's specific sports. It is a representative sample size of the health of the athletic departments. The Georgia athletic department, it matters. It's not just football, even though football is the thing that lifts all ships, right? It's the tide that lifts all ships. In that moment. Football is that for every SEC program save Vanderbilt, right? There's not an SEC program that doesn't lean on its football, or an SEC school that doesn't lean on its football program as the primary earner, as the primary reason for the athletic department's existence. So there's always going to be an increased value placed on the football coach. So let's say the football coach counts for 2 in this exercise, because football, I think that would be an interesting way to kind of reweight your argument here. If football coaches count for essentially 2 people, and you have the baseball and basketball coach, who are the closest thing to the revenue coaches that you have, does that change your argument at all? Do you weight a program like Georgia because they have Kirby Smart, but the baseball coach and the basketball coach or whatever?
Yeah, football has to weigh more.
So that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
And I don't hate the hype. Like, I honestly would think that strengthens Tennessee's argument, because I do think that Heupel is a good coach. But I'm going to give him a higher level of importance than the other 2, as we should. And 2, I still think it holds up, even though he hasn't won the SEC. I mean, there's no more SEC East. But he hasn't won the SEC. He hasn't won a national championship. But he's beaten the boogeyman, which matters. He's got the roster in the best place that it's been at any point I'm coming up on, it was 9 years in May that I've moved here. This is the best Tennessee roster that I can remember in nine years of living here. I'm sure Tennessee fans can probably speak to some level of the same, though the Jalen Hurd, Alvin Kamara, Butch Jones had a run.
A lot of NFL talent on the 2016 roster, but I see what you're saying.
But as a college football team, plus the quarterback, the quarterback was always, I guess Dobbs, but Dobbs wasn't this, right? Dobbs was not one of the 3 best college football quarterbacks or high school quarterbacks in the country. Right. Committing to Tennessee, a place that has been looking for that difference maker at the position.
Zach Taylor tweets us and says, if you're giving LSU Kim Mulkey over their men's basketball coach, then Alabama gets Patrick Murphy over their baseball coach, and that is very fair.
Softball coach.
Patrick Murphy, national champion, 11 combined SEC regular season and tournament championships with Alabama softball. They eliminated Tennessee in the Super Regionals this past year to get to Omaha. Hard to get over the Oklahoma dynasty right now in softball. But if Nick Saban is still at Alabama and we're doing that where a dominant softball or women's basketball coach gets that spot over the men's side, then Alabama runs away with this. But Nick Saban's not there. Kalen DeBoer is yet to be proven as an SEC head coach. Same with LSU, right? I know they won a national championship very recently. It wasn't Jay Johnson. He's the coach now of the baseball program. So and Karen Weekly is getting a lot of shout outs on the YouTube chat, F&M Bank, by Steven. Ton of SEC championships, absolutely. But Tony Vitello has now reached a peak that the softball program has never reached.
He's got the title, and if we're not doing baseball and softball, it's baseball or softball, right. Men's or women's basketball, and then football counts for 2 in this exercise. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to join in. Curtis is a project manager.
So I don't really have the football guys, but I was thinking about UConn. You got Gino Auriemma, Hurley, and Jim Penders. So I think with the dominance of basketball, that weighs pretty heavy, and the baseball is not too bad. Sorry, I couldn't do the football, but those are my 3 coaches that I was thinking about.
You definitely can't do UConn football. I would
definitely not.
I would argue against that. And again, for the exercise, men's or women's basketball, so you can't have Gino or Dan Hurley. You can have one or the other, but good options certainly. Yeah. Corey is an Uber driver.
Hey, I was curious if you guys had considered anything with South Carolina, especially with the women's basketball program. The college football is not terrible. And then the same with Oklahoma with their football team and their softball team.
South Carolina did not pop into my head, but again, Paul Manieri's resume is excellent.
Yeah, just took over. But you got to give me more than 8 wins in a football season.
What do I do with Beamer?
Yeah, women's basketball, obviously,
is
at the top of his game,
yeah.
Don Staley. But apart from Don Staley, I mean, Lamont Paris has done a phenomenal, deservedly winning SEC Coach of the Year last year with the men's side in basketball. But yeah, it doesn't quite reach the level of some of these schools that we're talking about in terms of being well-rounded at every sport. So it's an interesting discussion. I think Tennessee has a very, very real argument. Puka on the F&M Bank chat says Vol fans used to rag horribly Kentucky and Vandy fans because Kentucky was good at basketball, Vandy baseball. Now their glory is attached to basketball and baseball.
Puka, noted Vandy fan, who has been lashing out a lot lately because of how skewed the baseball coverage has been for Tennessee as opposed to when Vanderbilt makes a run on this station, which, by the way, is completely fair. It's completely fair. There are way more Tennessee alums on this radio station than there are Vanderbilt alums, and that probably speaks to the level of intelligence generally, but I am going to recuse myself from that argument.
Also, I terribly misspoke. Jay Johnson did win the championship with LSU last year and on the baseball side. So
Right.
they do have that national championship. Of course, Paul Skeens eliminated Tennessee from Omaha last
Paul
year.
Skeens is having that's really the only Major League Baseball I've paid attention to. Paul Skeens has popped up on my radar more than Ohtani has this year. 615-737-1045 is the number. Puka in the comment section says of Vanderbilt baseball coverage, you have no idea how much I begged. That's so sad. I shouldn't laugh at that, but it's so sad and yet so funny.
But if we're doing, just for the purposes of the argument, football, men's basketball, and baseball, it's hard to outmatch Tennessee. And then you bring in the other sports and the women's basketball side, then you start to have that discussion. But it is a very well-rounded program right now, while we understand football is the engine that drives the train and that needs to get back to winning championships.
All it says is in my next segment is it's the quarterback's birthday. What am I doing with that?
You have a gift for him that you're going to reveal.
Oh, okay. Find out next.
It is lunchtime. That means it is time for Hattie B's, which has been open for 40 minutes, unless it's the factory at Franklin location that has been open since 7 a.m. because they're doing breakfast. And let me tell you, it does not disappoint. The classic hot chicken biscuit, the hot chicken and waffle stack.
I had Hattie B's yesterday on the mobile app. It was excellent. The three tender plate with a little coleslaw, little mac and cheese, little peach cobbler. It's peach season. So good.
What was the spice level?
Mild.
Hot or not, whatever works for you. You can go mild, like Buck. You can go medium. If you're feeling spicy, you can go damn hot. Shut the cluck up. Whatever works. It's the best sides in town, the best hot chicken you can get in Nashville. And you get a free dessert just by having the app and order it to deliver, just like Buck did yesterday. If you want to skip the line, go in, pick up your Hattie B's, head right back to the office. Hattie B's is a family-run restaurant serving up your favorite Southern food, an authentic Nashville hot chicken. I'm craving it right now. Cannot wait to be at the Hattie B's Midtown location after the show. Download the Hattie B's app today.
All right. We already wish Will Levis a happy 25th birthday. You want to do it again? Would that make you happy?
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
We don't talk about Levis the same way that we talk about Hendon Hooker when it comes to the age. Do you notice that? As far as the development of the player goes, what the ceiling is, all we can say about Will Levis right now is, he has such a high ceiling. If he can just put all the athletic gifts and the talent together, then he's going to be an ascending player, even though he's 25.
And Hooker is a year and a half older. He's turned 26 in January.
Sure, but Levis is older than Trevor Lawrence. Levis, I mean, not by much. Levis turns 25 today. Lawrence is going to be 25 here in the not-too-distant future.
October, yeah.
But still, quarterback development, this conversation is a more interesting one because Dalton Knecht just dropped in the draft. However far you thought Dalton Knecht did drop, 17 is a pretty big slide. In fact, Jackson, can you pull up the clip that I just sent from the Pat McAfee show into, I just sent it into the group. If you could pull it up at your convenience. It's Sham Charania, who's the NBA lead insider for The Athletic, on McAfee, talking about the Lakers being just completely shocked.
Maybe vet it first.
Why? What happened?
It's a Pat McAfee show. F-bombs flying out at any point.
Oh, but they're on ESPN2. It's not F-bombs dropping at any given point on ESPN2.
It absolutely is. I have heard
F-bombs.
Really? 100%.
How did they get away with that?
100%.
Is that a thing? Can I say the
they
F
paid him
word?
too much money.
Yeah, they have hardly changed the format of the show and how they do it. Like I'll be watching on ESPN2 and F-bomb, S-word. Like, absolutely keep your head on a swivel about playing McAfee audio.
All right, do you
FCC airwaves.
Do you want to play it safe or do you want to be brave?
He's listening to it. Play it safe is the answer.
Do we want to play it safe?
Play it safe.
I never want to. I don't ever want to do this job scared. Except, when I'm, I don't know.
Michael on the F&M Bank chat says, and Trevor Lawrence has the same stats as Blake Bortles. Is this true?
No. Blake Bortles was a statistic. Blake Bortles was a Pro Bowler a couple of times because people got caught up in the passing stats, ignoring how often the Jags were chasing in games because they're trailing. They're in obvious passing situations. So Blake Bortles has 300-plus yard games all over the place that would probably surprise you.
Bortles' best year, statistically, was better than Trevor's best year. He had 300 more yards than Trevor's 4,100 in 2022. He had 10 more touchdowns than Trevor's 25, but he did have 10 more interceptions than Trevor's 8. So their year 2 for Bortles was the best year of his career. Year 2 so far for Lawrence has been his best. But if you're just looking at yards and touchdowns through their first 3 years of their career, Bortles' numbers at surface level look better.
Yeah, but you can't use that as a knock against him, Michael. If that's Michael on the F&M Bank chat. You can't use that as a knock against Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles played for an AFC championship game. He played for as many AFC championship games as you have recently. So I don't know why trying to slander Lawrence by using Bortles' stats as a slur against him is any kind of comparison. Blake Bortles was a successful quarterback for a period of time, even though Jarrell Casey, famously relished the opportunity to play the Jags, laughed at him.
Trevor Lawrence cannot be Blake Bortles and it be a success.
No, I'm not saying that at all, but we're talking about through the first couple of years of their career. Blake Bortles was the 5th overall pick in the draft.
Yes, sure. But I'm saying, you saying you cannot put Trevor Lawrence up next to Blake Bortles and call it an insult for Jaguars fans.
Statistically?
It's a massive insult. Yes, but what happened after those first 3 years?
Yeah, Blake Bortles wasn't a very good player. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is any good yet or not.
I understand. What I'm saying is if Trevor Lawrence has a career like Blake Bortles, it is a massive, massive failure.
Sure, but we haven't gotten there yet. You're talking about to date.
Yes.
Through the first 3 years of Blake Bortles' career, it was not an abject disaster.
No, it wasn't.
It was, he can improve. Let's put a good team around him. We have one of the best defenses in football. No, I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence is on the career trajectory of Blake Bortles.
Just making sure.
You just gave me the first couple of years of a statistical comparison. I say you can't use that as a knock against Trevor Lawrence.
The context is important. Trevor Lawrence needs to be much, much, much better than Blake Bortles to be a success as the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
I agree with you.
It's
of
not an
course,
argument.
I agree with you. Nobody is arguing that point. What are you? You're so tired of agreeing with one another because of summer. There's nothing to talk about. You just got to manufacture an argument. What do you first take?
No, Buck. It's just you said not to knock Trevor Lawrence because of the Blake Bortles thing, and that's very easy for people to take and run. I hope you understand that.
Jackson just told me in my ear that the audio that I wanted was definitely not safe.
Oh, thank you.
Good call,
Jackson.
Lucas.
What would you do without me?
Clean it up. Hire an AIU.
Tell AI to do that.
AI wouldn't have been a coward. AI would have let me play it scared. But Levis at 25, heading into this coming season. Greg Cosell and I were doing the podcast yesterday, the install. We were talking a lot about Josh Allen because we're doing in the same way that we're doing team previews on the radio show, where we're doing reverse order on the install. And, obviously with a much different angle because of the coaching changes, and we're talking schematics as opposed to off-season themes. But Greg and I, how often have you heard the comparison of Will Levis as a Josh Allen-like figure as a prospect?
There's some comparisons.
There are some.
Sure.
And in particular, the arm talent. Now, not necessarily the delivery, not physically the way that they throw the ball, but because of the size. He's well built, Will Levis, even if he has, clearly taken some kind of approach this offseason to kind of tone down the musculature a little bit. He's got an arm that maybe 5 other quarterbacks in the league have, where there is not a spot on the field that he can't make a throw to. The question is the accuracy.
Athleticism as well.
But that's not, Josh Allen is Cam Newton that way.
He's closer to that.
Will Levis seems hesitant to me to use his legs, at least as a pro. Now, he's coming off of 2 consecutive seasons, his rookie year and his final season at Kentucky, where he was dealing with lower body injuries, generally. That probably impacted his willingness to run. I would like to see more mobility out of Will Levis down the stretch, also behind an offensive line that allows him to have that maneuverability.
More design mobility, right, in terms of using it in a smart way.
I don't want him throwing himself around out there.
Which is a little bit Josh Allen of him, right? That reckless abandon.
But Josh Allen is also, I think, 2 or 3 inches taller than Will Levis. Like, he's a physically bigger player than Will Levis. But I'm just talking about the parallels. There are a lot there, the rawness, the toolsiness, all of it with Josh Allen. So Greg and I were talking about the Bills yesterday, and then we ran it through the context of Levis. It took Josh Allen how long to be what we consider a finished product? I mean, you're probably never a finished product in the NFL, but to get to this version of Josh Allen, or somewhere close, it took 3 seasons. Will Levis doesn't have that luxury. Will Levis also wasn't a first-round pick like Josh Allen was, so we're talking about a different level of financial flexibility that the Bills had that the Titans do not on the contract. It's just interesting to me how much different context we use around Levis than we do around even Hendon Hooker, who was in that same draft class around the age. When all the talk about Levis is ascending, high ceiling, has so much more that he can do, even though he's one of the older prospects. As a younger prospect, as we said, he's not Brandon Whedon, 28-year-old rookie or whatever. But he's 24 getting drafted. A lot of times, teams will view you as a finished product that way. And that is not the discourse around Will Levis at all, it seems. So happy birthday.
What'd you get him?
Would I get him?
Yeah.
We didn't bother him this offseason to do the radio show. That's what I got him. I left him alone.
That's it? We teased something that you got him for his birthday.
Did I?
Buck disappoints again.
You're not a little kid. You're 21.
Just like yesterday. Didn't show up.
What is this? We didn't even get invited.
Yes, we did.
We weren't even on the email.
We were all invited.
You want to tell me, you brought this to my attention. They sent us an email about this arcade event last night. Do you know who the only 3 people who weren't included on that list of people who were going to attend? Or who had passes already to attend?
It was us, but that's...
You, me, and Jackson.
But we were invited. It's because it's an RKW event, and Blaine and Hunk and 3HL were broadcasting live. We're just the only ones that weren't broadcasting live from there. That's all that was about. We were very much invited.
You don't want to spend more time with me anyway.
I think there just weren't enough famous people there for you to rub shoulders with. Like, I don't know,
Oh, you think I'm too big of a star bleeper to go to something like this?
Like, and if any ex-B-list Nashville celebrity would have been there, you would have been there to say that you could have like rubbed shoulders with. I don't know who's like a half famous Nashville celebrity.
Ooh, that's a good question. Because like local sports talk radio is F-. Like on the scale
down
of the entertainment ladder, we are at the very, very lowest rung. Okay, like there is no crappier celebrity than that of local sports talk radio professional. Respectfully to all my colleagues.
Like if the guy that was swinging the colostomy bag around at Kid Rock's was there, you would go.
More famous.
Yeah, more famous than us.
I would want a picture. I would want a picture. Yeah.
To say that you hung out with him.
Sure, I would not want the fecal material that comes along with that, but I would take the picture. I think we figured it out. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. I promise you had more fun because I wasn't there.
That is true.
DeAndre Hopkins has an NFL draft suggestion. We'll tell you what that is next.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. The first round of the NBA draft was on Wednesday. Tennessee star Dalton Knecht fell to 17th overall, where he was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers. The Memphis Grizzlies had the number 9 pick and took Purdue center Zach Edey. The second round of the NBA draft begins this afternoon at 3 p.m. On Wednesday, the Titans announced an open practice at Nissan Stadium July 27th. Visit TennesseeTitans.com to find out how to claim your free ticket. Tonight, the U.S. men's national team continues group stage play in Copa America, taking on Panama in Group C from Atlanta. Kickoff is at 5 p.m. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour on this Thursday. Welcome into the show. We're happy to have you. I'm tired of getting slandered this morning. I'm seeing the group picture from the arcade event yesterday at Game Terminal. Dawn's not in the picture. Ramon's not in the picture. And yet you're bringing this heat just to me. What's your deal?
Well, Dawn was there. Dawn had to leave. She had an engagement, but she was there for hours. They did the show there. She hung out. She played Frogger, all of those things. So did get to hang out with John. Or with Dawn. I said John. My goodness. So I was reading something.
Interesting.
Ramon is doing college visits and travel ball things with his son. He has familial obligations. That is far better than any excuse you might have.
Work?
What work? Prime time? Bert was there, so that excuse is out the window.
Bert was physically there. Bert was not mentally there.
Bert was mentally. Bert had a great time, man.
No, Bert was physically at prime time.
Oh.
Bert was mentally not at prime time. So yeah.
I do have a question.
What?
Why was Lucas on like a pedestal above everyone else?
Oh, because he has Napoleon syndrome.
I just want to be tall.
Clearly. Well, I was having this conversation. You can go ahead and find me again with Ryan Hurd. Thank you. We were at Taylor Lewan's for Beer Olympics. Thank you. And, there was a bunch of giant athletes went around. Hurd's probably 6. I mean, have you met Ryan?
Nope.
That's fair. He's like 6'4". We're around a bunch of football players at this Beer Olympics thing, and I'm 6'2", he's probably 6'3", 6'4", whatever, and we both feel like children, next to the giant, either current or former professional athletes, and we're just wandering around there looking like 8th graders gone to summer camp at Taylor Lewan's pool party. But anyway, so yes, it physically, that's fair. It physically looks like you are standing on the shoulders of Blaine Bishop, which is appropriate because I'm sure at various points in your career you have stood on the shoulders of people to get somewhere. There is a physical manifestation of you standing on Blaine Bishop's shoulders, Titans legends, to stand above the rest. It does look ridiculous. How much further off the ground you are than everybody else? Kirby is at your belly button.
He is. I just want to be tall.
Unfortunate. So, seamless transition. We have not talked a lot about DeAndre Hopkins this offseason because DeAndre Hopkins is here. Nobody's really worried about whether DeAndre Hopkins, after seeing a season of him putting together all 17 games, catching, I believe Hop had 75 receptions this year. He had over 1,000 yards and he had 7 touchdowns after a season removed, well, I guess 2 seasons removed from a legitimate injury and then a PED suspension that saw him a cap casualty in Arizona. So he comes to Tennessee, and he's doubted to an extent. Doesn't seem to be any cause for concern heading into the season. And we'll talk about the idea of DeAndre Hopkins' viability as a football player later on in this hour. But we never really got into the is he holding out nonsense, because it was stupid. There was no conversation there to be had. It was a manufactured one. So any Titans fans that were sending me that kind of crap, on the internet, on the primetime comments, on the radio show or otherwise, like there was nothing there. You were just gaslit. So he does, however, have a pretty interesting suggestion. I would like to talk to him about a variety of different things. We've never had him on, have we? I don't think he's dying to do a local radio interview.
Don't think D-Hop has been on the show.
Okay. Well, maybe we see if we can't find a way to make that work during training camp, one way or the other. But he's got a lot of different thoughts, and these thoughts are specific to the NFL draft. This is on the heels of the NBA draft last night. At DeAndre Hopkins on Twitter, top sophomores in college should be able to enter the NFL draft. Even if it's only the top 10 prospects, if they don't get drafted, then allow them back in college. Hashtag hop takes. So he's venturing into our space a little bit. Little hop takes.
Great segment. I mean, there it is for whenever he does join the show.
Oh, you want to eat? Oh, are you? So he's doing your job for you now. He's coming up with high key, low key for himself. The idea of that makes sense for, I think, a couple of positions, not every position. And that's the reason why that's the biggest hole that I might poke in that argument. Now, I don't know much about the human body as far as like when do humans stop growing? Like 2021? When do we cease growing? Do either of you two know that?
So I'm screwed.
Oh yeah, you're banked.
So I'll never be tall.
Correct.
I grew a few inches in college.
Maybe one day Lucas will be a real boy. But I think that about 2021, maybe 22, you're probably done growing. But that's what is 21? Junior in college for most people? If you are not fully physically developed as an NFL offensive lineman, let's say, I feel like there is the potential, again, without a medical degree, I'm just assuming or projecting based on what I know football to be as an incredibly violent sport that already ravages the body. I'm going to assume that it's not beneficial to football players to head into professional ranks where they're playing grown-ass men before your body is fully developed. Now, are you still playing as an 18-year-old, as a 17-year-old at various levels of high school and college competition? Yes, you're still getting into those situations, of course. But there is a substantial difference between being an 18-year-old and lining up against other 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds versus being, so let's say a college sophomore, let's say a true sophomore, a 19-year-old going out there as a defensive lineman to face Lloyd Cushenberry, who is just a human cinder block of a human being who's been a starter since he was a rookie, who's got all the NFL experience in the world, who's going to pick you up and forklift your ass into the opposite end zone. There's probably some harm there. There's always harm in football. But the place that my mind goes first is that while they are not fully physically developed as college basketball players to professional basketball players either, the violence of football would give me additional concern about how that could physically affect you moving forward in your life. Other than that, I don't really take an issue. I mean, it's a legitimate issue if there's actual science to back it up. Again, I don't have the science to back that up. I'm just telling you where my mind goes.
Ja L on the FNM Bank chat says, should kickers and punters be allowed to go to the draft early?
I just don't think that it either has to be all of them or none of them.
So D-Hop is suggesting the ability to, like the NBA kind of, just test out the waters with the option to come back to college as a sophomore if you feel you are physically and mentally prepared.
Yeah, the same way that the NBA draft does this. You can declare for the draft, you can put your name in, and you can still jump out and go back to college as long as you don't hire an agent. Now, the problem is, and I'd be curious to know this from the respective leagues, from people in the leagues, the NBA or the NFL about this, how do you discern agent from name, image, and likeness figure that has been working with these kids on the marketing side of things? Is there a difference between a manager and an agent? Or, is it NFLPA certified or NBA PA certified or what have you? Those would be my initial questions about the respective hurdles that you would have to go through. But first and foremost would be the physical concerns because you couldn't do it for every position. I'd hear the argument for quarterback. I'd hear the argument for wide receiver. I'd hear the argument for basically every position but the trench players. I just don't think you can put offensive and defensive linemen into the NFL before your body is as physically developed as humanly possible.
You know who I think about with this discussion on a player that could actually do this? Brock Bowers.
Yes.
Who could have gone to the draft after his sophomore year.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Right.
You remember? I came in here talking about him as a true freshman.
Yeah. You thought he was like draft eligible.
I was like, who the hell is that just monster out there?
Now, the reason I don't like this is just add it to the list of what college football coaches have to deal with in terms of questions about their roster and having no idea what they like. That would be a really tough thing to have 6 or 7 players on your roster say, no, we're testing out the waters, coach, but we might come back. And then you're in a weird spot. Okay, do I address the portal? I'm going to have to replace you if you leave. And now is the window for me to do that. So if I don't know if you're coming back, that puts me in a really tough position.
Fair. So here's the third branch off of your point there. How harmed has the product of college basketball been because of one and done?
Good question. I don't know. Do you think it's college basketball has suffered from the one and done?
Yes, I think indisputably it has suffered. Now, there are other factors. Guys can play internationally. Guys can play in Australian professional leagues or European professional leagues and go a different route if you don't want to do the one and done thing. That's all well and good. But I think that just making the college element of it a farce.
Yeah.
You get a situation like Kentucky fans. Kentucky fans are probably sick of the one and done stuff because they're not just trying to be the facilitator or the catalyst to get you to the NBA. They want a national title. They want a team. The biggest argument that Kentucky fans probably have against Calipari is you weren't recruiting teams. You were recruiting players to boost your NBA profile or your NBA draft profile and the profile of Kentucky. And by the way, there is sound strategy to that based on how the rules are constituted. But there's no question to me, Lucas, that basketball teams, basically other than Tennessee, I don't know how Tennessee keeps people the way that they do. It's like the Dabo Sweeney of college football. Dabo keeps players way beyond their draft eligibility.
They had a few along the way. Kennedy Chandler, Keon Johnson, Jaden Springer. Like Tennessee's had the one and dones. If you're talking about kids coming out of high school playing when you're going, not the Dalton Connects coming out of JUCO or Northern Colorado.
And I think, by the way, transfer portal helps you supplement some of this issue, but it doesn't completely solve the problem. Because we just came off the NBA draft. What do we lack this year?
Who lack?
What did we lack in the sport of college basketball this year? Legitimate star power.
Yeah, I mean, Caitlin Clark overshadowed everybody on the men's side.
That's fine. In men's college basketball, we lacked a non-Zach Edey star. And Zach Edey has been in our college basketball lives since the dawn of time. He's Cro-Magnon. That was mean. I shouldn't have done that.
Now, Tennessee fans obviously would say Dalton Connect.
Sure, but Dalton Connects. When was Dalton Connect on Tennessee fans' radar? In the sport of college basketball. As a college basketball fan, when did you know about Dalton Connect?
Well, there was excitement when he pledged to Tennessee, but nobody had this kind of season.
Prior to Dalton Connect being a part of the University of Tennessee ecosystem, what did you know of Dalton Connect?
Oh, nothing. He was a kid from Northern Colorado who put up 20 points per game in whatever league they play in.
Sure. So there are still going to be stories. The transfer portal allows for those stories to still exist in college basketball and make the product viable. But wouldn't you like a freshman to stick around for a little longer and actually build a team, a program? What do you benefit most from Nico? You didn't burn his red shirt. You've got years to work with Nico Iamaleava. That matter.
Like a Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield that were developed by the program and became stars through the program.
Truly. So that I think, I don't think that any one rule has single-handedly harmed a college sport more than one and done has college basketball, men's college basketball. 615-737-1045 is the number. So, speaking of DeAndre Hopkins, let's have a football discussion. He's on an expiring deal. Would you extend him? We'll talk about it coming up next. QC Kinetics is here to help you because this is the most important time of year for you to have that full range of movement, and you simply cannot if you are dealing with that nagging joint pain. They are the leader in regenerative medicine. Non-surgical joint pain relief is what they offer at QC Kinetics, so you should call them today. Like I said, they are the nation's leader in these regenerative medicine practices, and they offer lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. The advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue so you can walk, run, hike, play golf, and move again pain-free. QC Kinetics is under the leadership of former orthopedic surgeon Dr. Mitchell Shinecup, who is a true pioneer in regenerative medicine, looking to find a way for resolving joint pain issues that was non-surgical. Their advanced protocols have enabled tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility. So stop putting it off and take action now. Live your best life again with QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. 615-737-1045 is the number. Jump in there. You've got the F&M Bank chat at your disposal. Live stream the show if you so choose. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Leave us a like on YouTube if you're hanging out today. We appreciate you for it. So, DeAndre Hopkins started a conversation about the draft. Let's start a conversation about DeAndre Hopkins on the heels of that. I was thinking about this the other day because we didn't really talk about it, but DeAndre Hopkins is DeAndre Hopkins the most online Titan since A.J. Brown? Because there are some similarities. There are some parallels in the way that they respond to criticism, or at least in the way that they interact on social media.
Jeff every now and then.
Jeff will every now and then. But D-Hop does it to a lesser extent. It's much less extreme than how often AJ would both tweet and then delete the tweet. But Hop's out there, and he pays attention to things, and that was a big part of the conversation around his free agency when he was released from Arizona and was between the Titans and the Patriots. So DeAndre Hopkins gets out there on social media a couple of weeks ago, or I guess last week, and essentially wants to call out people who were skeptical of his abilities at an advanced age for a wide receiver. So they signed him in 2023. Fair to assume that he was lumped in with the Andre Johnson, Randy Moss, veteran wide receiver comes to the Titans at the end of their career type of player, right? We were having that discussion around DeAndre Hopkins. Julio Jones.
Yeah, just in that he was a receiver over the age of 30 that had a Hall of Fame-worthy career coming to Tennessee, and we had seen it so many times before. Although, how old was Randy when he came to Tennessee?
I think older.
2010. Moss is 47 now. I'll let someone else do the math.
You're going to do that?
It'll take me about 20 minutes, but I'll get back to you.
Well,
33?
Oh, what? We got a math whiz over here.
I saw him use his hands. It doesn't count. So, Hopkins, do you remember the Albert Breer article that came out while he was a free agent, where there's unnamed NFL executives being cited as being critical? Remember the not much on DeAndre Hopkins. He can't run anymore. That's a quote. Not much on what he has left to give. He can't run anymore. There's another quote. Still great hands. He's not going to separate. Not much of a deep threat, but very strong and makes contested catches as well as anyone else in the NFL. But he's not paying attention to the, still great. He's paying attention to the unnamed exec who said he can't run anymore. So there's our buddy Ian Hartitz at Pro Football Focus put out some highlights of DeAndre Hopkins because he's just, tape study, whatever, fantasy football purposes. And it's a really good DeAndre Hopkins play this past year in the Bengals game, one-on-one against a corner. And Hop tweets it out, or quote tweets it and says, "Remember the articles from so-called top executives saying I can't play anymore?" with the laughing emoji. And he says, "In Ran, we trust." And true. I mean, that was proven to pay dividends in 2023. Like I said, 75 catches, over 1,000 yards. He played in 17 games. He practiced. Remember how much discussion there was about how little he practices before he signed it with the Titans, and then he basically practiced all year. So he definitely had a season where he was intent on proving people wrong. Fair to assume that will continue into this season on a better roster. Nate Washington came on this radio show a couple of months ago and was very adamant about the idea of he fully expects DeAndre Hopkins to have a yet better season than he did. And that was the 7th time that Hopkins has eclipsed 1,000 yards receiving in a season in this will be 12 years for him in the NFL.
Every time he has played 16 or more games in a season, with the exception of 2016 when he had 954, every other time he's played 16 or more games, he's had 1,000 yards at least.
So, the question to the room and the question to the audience, 615-737-1045 or via the live stream chat on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Would you extend DeAndre Hopkins before the season begins? Expiring contract. He is playing for just north of $13 million a year. The way the contract was structured was backloaded, so they are paying more for DeAndre Hopkins this year than they were last year. But, of course, you understand how much financial flexibility, how much cap space they had to work with. DeAndre Hopkins on a $13 million average annual salary, one would call that a value. Even at his advanced age, they got certainly their money's worth out of it last season. So if the going rate for a Tyler Boyd, who's a very specific kind of a player, slot exclusive almost type of player, the going rate for Tyler Boyd at 30 years old is up to $4 million a year with the way that his contract is incentive laden. How much is Hopkins worth when he will be 30? He is 32. He had a birthday this month, where he will be 33 before the start of next season. But there is still plenty of evidence that DeAndre Hopkins is a 1B. If not the best version of DeAndre Hopkins that we've seen in his career, and it's a very impressive career. Hopkins had a very impressive season last year. Now, he was the only thing that they had save Derrick Henry. And Will Levis, brought out a better version of DeAndre Hopkins than we had seen, even though he was making plays for Tannehill too. I'm inclined to extend him before the season, even knowing he'll be 33. When I think of players who can sustain at a high rate, and we've heard DeAndre Hopkins talk about how he's taking care of his body, how much more hot yoga he's doing as a means of trying to maximize his conditioning, but also his pliability, right? Tom Brady, the whole thing, pliability, TB12, don't eat strawberries, no nightshades, all these different things. Avocado ice cream.
Love strawberries.
I know, I would hate to lose strawberries in my life. That would be a tragic loss. Strawberry cake, my favorite kind of cake, absolutely. But I would extend him ahead of this season, before seeing how this season plays out, because when I think of DeAndre Hopkins, I think of Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Not the same exact kind of player.
But in the way that they've aged.
In the way that they've aged, I think of him as being Larry Fitzgerald.
Who retired in 2020. So he was 36?
He was 37.
When he officially retired.
His final season, where he played 13 games for the Arizona Cardinals, was 2020. He was 37 years old.
And in that season, he played in 13 games, had 72 targets, 54 catches, 409 yards.
Larry Fitzgerald is so ridiculous. I'm looking at his... He had a whole nother damn Hall of Fame career after he turned 32. He played in 16 games in 5 straight seasons.
That's crazy.
After the age of 32, with 3 Pro Bowl selections, his last in 17.
3,000-yard seasons in a row.
I mean, that is disgusting.
Yeah.
So, that's a high bar. I'm not saying that Hop has to play to age 37 or has to make 3 more Pro Bowls or has to, have 3 more 1,000-yard seasons. But I look at them similarly in how their traits allowed them to age better than your average wide receiver might. Now, can we account for soft tissue and all these other things? Now, soft tissue is something that you can't account for, but those things get harder as you get older. Ligaments, tendons, all that kind of stuff, strains, bumps and bruises. It's just, like every other person in life, things get harder the more you age. I still think he's got at least 2 more good seasons in him.
It's going to be really interesting going into the 2025 NFL draft, just how big of a need wide receiver will be for this team. Because even if you extend DeAndre Hopkins, you still have got to get younger there. And maybe a lot depends on what you see from Treylon Burks in 2024.
I don't think Treylon Burks should factor in too much for the DeAndre Hopkins conversation.
Right, because even if Burks has, what would be a season where Treylon Burks surpasses, if Treylon Burks has 500-something yards this season and 3 touchdowns, has he surpassed expectations for this season in how we've talked about him this summer? Not the expectations of a first-round pick, in the context of where he is on this depth chart and what we've seen from the last couple of years. How would we be talking about a 500-ish yard season from Treylon Burks?
I would be taking it as a victory lap because it means I won our bet with Slay.
Sure. But it's
not enough for him to say sight unseen, all right, you can be DeAndre Hopkins next year and we'll let him walk.
And what we've seen from the Brian Callahan and Zach Taylor offense from Cincinnati, they're going to rely really heavily on their top 3 receivers, right? That's the sample size that we have from Callahan and Cincy. And so you're looking at Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Tyler Boyd. It's going to be really hard for Treylon Burks. I mean, it would have to be some sort of injury situation where his playing time shoots up for him to get up to that 800-ish yard range that you're talking about with that bet with Slay. So you're talking about a lot of things that would have to happen for Treylon Burks to have a type of season that becomes, let's lock him down for the future. And he can be on the younger side of our wide receiver core. We feel good about where Treylon Burks is. He's finally lived up to that first-round pick billing. Lots going to have to happen. So if that doesn't take place, you still got to get younger at wide receiver. And you've got Calvin Ridley aging, but on a 4-year deal. Tyler Boyd's a free agent after this year. And DeAndre Hopkins, if you were to extend him at value, because you figure that number would be lower than what it is right now, then I would say yes, but still wide receiver could be a very high priority in next year's draft.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to join the conversation. Would you extend DeAndre Hopkins before the season started off of 1 year of sample size of him in a different offense? Also fair to point out. That was DeAndre Hopkins succeeding in an offense where precious few people succeeded.
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind.
Kevin on the F&M Bank chat says, yes, absolutely yes. Frederick says, hell yes.
All right, let's see if Keith echoes that same sentiment on the phones. Hey, Keith.
Hey, buddy. How you doing, Buck?
Good.
Listen, you've got to extend D-Hop. I mean, the guy plays the position better, differently than anybody I've ever seen, and I'm 67 years old, been watching football since the 60s. He's dinking and diving, juking and jiving. You know he's out there talking trash, too, to the cover guy. So, he's out there figuring the angles, working, and the guy's got hands like, glue. I don't think I've ever seen it. Well, he may have missed a pass or two. I don't know. But the thing I really like about him is he's always angling for the penalty. After
he does know how to draw a penalty. He absolutely does.
I mean, I love the guy, man. You've got to extend him. And if he's taking care of himself, if he's doing hot yoga or whatever you're talking about, and he has the same or better type of year that he had last year, oh man, yeah, you got to keep D-Hop in the fold.
That's 60 seconds on the clock, Keith. We appreciate the phone call. That's why you hear the Oscars music. That's how the phone lines work. But your point is well taken. He does also help you draw those pass interference penalties. And occasionally he can prevent an interception. You remember him doing the defensive back seatbelt celebration last year a couple of times?
Yeah. And 4 drops last season, I think was the
I need to look
number.
it up. Yeah, I need to look at. Well, and it depends on where you're looking. I'll find out what the Pro Football Focus number is here for you after the commercial break. But I would extend him. I would extend him before the season started. I don't need to see a season from Treylon Burks to make that decision. He has earned, if he wants to. I have no idea what that man wants to do with his life because he has a variety of different interests. You see him sitting on speaking panels at Paris Fashion Week with Joe Burrow this week, then flying to Cabo and being a part of the Titans team activities. You see him walking out of the tunnel with Morgan Wallen before the concert at Nissan Stadium. I like that he embraces the thing that I like about him as a personality. I don't know him very well after covering him for just a season, but the thing I like about him is how much he leans into the culture of wherever it is that he's at, whether it's the Titans, whether it's Nashville as a country music city, whether it's international fashion and stuff like that. Like he's a very culturally, culturally curious person.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It would seem. And I like that he leans in on wherever it is that he's at. And I think Titans fans have really appreciated it because it would be easy for you to envision in your head as a Titans fan, having come off 2 bad seasons, signing a formerly star player like DeAndre Hopkins and being like, oh, how much is he actually going to care here? How often do we hit athletes like that with, oh, he's just here for the payday. Oh, he just wants more money because then the Patriots will pay him. That's why he wants to come to the Titans. No, I think he legitimately embraces wherever he's at to his credit. And that doesn't happen every time.
And in the building, too, because what was a huge factor for him in why, yes, the contract, but also what attracted him to Tennessee? Huge factor.
Oh, was it the concert?
The coach.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mike Vrabel and their relationship. Yeah. I mean, it was very well documented. He talked about it a lot when he initially signed his introductory press conference. And now he's had to undergo a coaching change with a coach that he's not as familiar with and a totally new supporting cast around him. And he's leaned into it same way he has the rest of the culture of the city.
I'm going to make a new show rule. when we ask, what's a question that you ask that you don't actually want the answer to?
Oh, rhetorical.
Rhetorical question. When we ask, one of us, when we're talking, when we ask a rhetorical question, just go ahead and answer it. Just go ahead and answer the question instead of letting it.
That wasn't rhetorical.
Yeah, it was.
No.
You were I thought you were going to answer your own question. I paused to let you answer your own question. You looked at me looking for an answer to the question. And then
I was waiting for you to answer.
All right. Well, let's just answer our own questions around here from now on. New show rule.
How about we declare that a question is rhetorical before it is asked?
So like we have like a, do we need to have a sounder? Is there like a, what do you have back there would stop the proceedings?
Rhetorical question alert.
Indicating that we have a rhetorical question that is about to be asked. What?
Oh, that's...
Put it in reverse, Terry? It's not even the good part. It's not even when he's screaming, put it in reverse, Terry.
He's grasping at straws back there.
Well, I think he had started to upload things for 4th of July week and maybe he got a little ahead of himself. Either way, last call for phone calls if you got them. So we're all in agreement. Extended before the season, no dissenting opinions.
What kind of number are we talking? 1 year?
If he's playing
8, 9?
I mean, I'd be willing to give him 10. For who he is, what he means. How many other stars do you have on your roster right now? He is a legitimate star. I would be willing to go as high as 10. And that's probably an overpay, but I think it's okay.
Would you be willing to give him the exact same number he's got this year?
13, no.
No, yeah, it can't work that way.
Not a 33, no. And I think I assume he's realistic about this. I'm sure his representation is realistic about this. There's nothing wrong with being paid what you're worth, but you also have to acknowledge that age is a legitimate factor in this. All right, last call for phone calls if you got them. NCAA analysts can coach now. Can you imagine the idea of Butch Jones, Alabama analyst, with a headset on calling plays? Apparently it's a thing. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Last segment of the day, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Download the mobile Hattie B's app. I ordered a Hattie B's for lunch yesterday after the show. Got it delivered to the house. 3 tender plate, a little bit of pimento salad, a little bit of peach cobbler. Are you a cobbler person or a banana pudding person? Have we had this conversation?
We
before?
have.
Yeah.
Depends on the day.
I'm in reruns.
Both have their place.
I would agree, even though June is definitely peach cobbler season. So 100% peach cobbler at Hattie B's. And if you download the app, not only is your delivery free, but you get a free dessert. Isn't that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Lovely. So before we wrap up, tell me about this story that you found this morning about a change to the way that NCAA analysts will be able to interact on the sidelines as coaches.
The NCAA Division I Council approved a rule change Tuesday that will allow all football staff members to provide coaching instruction during practice and games. So essentially, this removes restrictions on the previous maximum of 11 coaches on field that could actually be involved in instructions to players, coaching players during practice and games. So, for example, Nick Saban revolutionized this idea, right, of bringing in Butch Jones to be an analyst, Steve Sarkisian, Bill O'Brien, I mean, you name it. And those analysts are in the building and they're in meetings and they're helping game plan and they're giving different perspectives on things. Think Jim Schwartz with Mike Vrabel a couple of years ago before
Vrabel now.
Yeah, Vrabel now with the Cleveland Browns, exactly. But the NCAA rule is that those coaches could not be involved in the actual coaching and instruction portion of practice and games. Now it is seemingly a free-for-all. And the NCAA stated, quote, moving forward, any staff member may provide technical and tactical instruction to student athletes during practice and competition, which I will say, you would see Butch Jones on the sideline of an Alabama game before
players.
Yeah, exactly, right? Jim Chaney. I totally forgot that Jim Chaney was an analyst for Jimbo Fisher until I saw him on the A&M because he's so recognizable.
Yeah.
On the A&M sideline when they were playing in Neyland Stadium last year, and he's talking up players, and he's very clearly coaching them up. He's just not wearing a headset.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the difference is that they have headsets now, right? That they're in the
There's
course,
no restrictions
the
on
course of the communication with the coaches, right?
They can
They can if they want to. So that's, I don't think it's that big of a shift. It's just a, it's kind of, it's a little like a lesser version of the name, image, and likeness conversation, paying players under the table. They've always done this. It's just now there's an actual rule allowing it.
The NCAA Council also voted Tuesday, this is all from Heather Dinich of ESPN, by the way, to remove cannabinoids from the banned drug class.
Oh, thank God.
For championships and postseason participation in football effective immediately. The statement was, the NCAA drug testing program is intended to focus on integrity of competition, and cannabis products do not provide a competitive advantage. The council's focus is on policies centered on student-athlete health and well-being rather than punishment for cannabis use. So any penalties that are currently being served by student-athletes who previously tested positive for cannabis will be discontinued.
I honestly, I had not considered that in collegiate sports until you just said that. Because I saw the headline from, it was either the New York Times or the Washington the Washington Post yesterday, that Brazil is now the largest nation to decriminalize marijuana. That's what, 200 plus million people?
It's a big country.
An entire country decriminalizing marijuana. The idea that we're still testing for it in collegiate athletics and that it would be, some kind of punishable offense is crazy to me.
Well, now the days of kids getting kicked off of teams for testing positive for marijuana.
Think about Christian Fulton. Christian Fulton at LSU. That was a whole ordeal.
Buddy, Travis Kelce almost lost his football career at Cincinnati.
Think about how stupid that is. Just so, and I'm not advocating for pot use or whatever, but like the idea that it is a punishable offense for collegiate athletes. If you pop an edible or something like that, if you play for USC and you're getting ready to play in the Pac, well, is there a Pac-12 championship game right now? They're the Big Ten.
Yeah. Yes.
That's right.
They'll be playing their. If USC makes
that's going to be a disaster come college football season. Me forgetting that USC is a Big Ten school.
They'll be playing in Indianapolis.
Oh my God!
If they get there.
Imagine schlepping from LA to Lucas Oil Stadium in the middle of January to go play your conference championship game as UCLA and USC.
This season's going to be hilarious. I can't wait.
Polls. This is timely.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Vols fans, are you now Lakers fans? 68% are saying no. Eric says he was born and raised a Laker fan. He joked about Connect falling to 17, but it was a joke, he says. Then it happened, and he's on cloud 9.
Well, that's fun. That's like Jackson.
Always been a Lakers fan.
This is famously a Lakers show.
Lake show.
Did the Grizzlies spit in the face of the Vols fans last night? 63.7% say no. But Buck, you say yes.
I felt like I felt like somebody spit in my face last night. Not because Connect wasn't drafted by the Grizzlies, but because Connect wasn't drafted by the Grizzlies and they drafted damn Zach Edey. There is no bigger double-sided slap in the face than that.
Is it too far to say that I put that opinion that pro sports franchises should cater to fan bases in their state? I put that right up there with Colin Cowherd saying that Ben Simmons is the new face of the NBA and LeBron James, we're good, bro. You can leave. I mean, to me, it is in the same category of moronic ridiculousness.
No, Charlie Burris, who I love, is one of the with the all-time dumbest thing in sports, saying that the Vols fans should be catered to by a professional sports organization.
Would you support a DeAndre Hopkins extension before the season? 79.4% say yes, 20.6% are saying no.
That's interesting.
Eldon says his game is not built off explosiveness and speed like Julio's was. He's a professional in every sense of the word. He's good for Levis.
Yep.
All true.
All true.
We didn't do this, the team series preview on the Eagles, but do you consider the Eagles Super Bowl contenders in 2024? 60.2% say no.
What?
Nope. That's the majority.
Super Bowl contenders?
We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Okay, I guess. That seems controversial, does it not?
Those are the polls.
All right, very good. That's the show. Prime time tonight. We will look forward to hanging out with you this evening at 7 p.m. Make sure, if you're subscribed to The Zone on YouTube, make sure you head on over to A to Z Sports. Subscribe there where you can get more live stream Titans coverage and content. We are done for the day. Blaine Bishop coming up next.